Oh, no.
Okay, who is DFW's all-time GOAT? Let me make it easy for y'all. I got Dirk. You take the field.
Tom Landry, does he count?
He counts.
Roger.
Wrong, both of you. PressBox DFW Live. Welcome, Richie Witt, alongside two venerable sports writers, Gil Leberton, Matt Mosley again. What happened?
Apparently, it was so good last week. They said you had to go round 2.
Either that or
John Henry is on assignment.
He might be Wally Pipp. This could be our Cal Ripken.
I know. I warned him about that.
This could be the last.
Y'all would have to change the timing of this show.
Yes, we would.
Since your desire to do that.
Your Baylor education took you to Luna Road today for some reason. All right, we're going to be joined today on Dirk Day. Forever voice of the Mavs, Chuck Cooperstein, is going to join us to reminisce about number 41. And we'll also talk some the game last night, of course, Dr. Brackett's Tech and Virginia. A thrilling game. Tech might have got hosed on a late call. We'll talk some TCU coaching scenarios. We almost lost a coach, but we didn't.
Coaching leftovers.
Somebody on this panel made what could be the greatest par in the history of the Colonial yesterday. Wait till you hear what I did to some property out at that sacred course yesterday.
The horrible horseshoes. Never been so horrible.
It wasn't a horrible horseshoe, but when I tell you, you're never going to look at this hole again after I did to it yesterday.
I don't plan on ever.
Were any animals harmed in the playing?
No animals were harmed, but a couple of humans were frightened out of their lunches.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, humans were in danger. Right, so,
don't act like there was a gallery at this thing.
No, there wasn't a gallery. There was just innocent bystanders.
Okay, I was going to say, nobody came out there to watch you guys.
I almost hit Gary McCord in the TV tower on 16. So a year ago, at the end of the Mavs season last year, the final home game I went to, so I thought maybe it's Dirk's last home game. There were Dallas Loved Dirk T-shirts, and there were commemorative cups, and all the people thought it was his last game, and Dirk limps in. Remember, he just had surgery, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm coming back next year." And everybody's like, "Yay! Are we getting tricked again? Do you think this is his last game tonight, or do you think he's done?"
I think this is it. And sadly, I think this is such a gracious human being, and we've all dealt with Dirk a lot and spent time with him, that I think he would almost feel bad about coming back after he's been celebrated this much.
I think you're right. But let's talk to somebody who knows a lot more than us. It's the forever radio voice of the Dallas Mavericks.
Totally agree with
It's
that.
our old friend Chuck Cooperstein. Coop, what up?
Afternoon, boys.
How fresh off the media tournament at Colonial yesterday, did you set any course records?
No, I did win closest to the pin at 16, though.
Did you now?
Snuck it in there about 7 feet.
Okay.
It was nice.
I hope you can listen to the show after we're done, because I made the greatest par in the history of 16 yesterday. I don't want to give it away, but you got to hear what happened. If not, I'll tell you off the air. All right, let's talk some Dirk. Is this his last game? Last home game?
I mean, I tend to believe that it is. But, do I really want to get inside his head right now? I don't know that I necessarily want to go there. But, I mean, I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it is. I mean, I think, J.J. Barea's Instagram tweet today seemed to suggest that. And, just watching Dirk play and seeing that, where he is, and especially where his shooting numbers are. Look, he was never going to be a great defender or a rebounder at this age. But had he been able to replicate what he did last year when, he shot 45% and he shot 38% from three, then I think we could be talking about it. But, I don't, as much as he loves being around the guys, I just can't see him being that player that plays at something that's far below what he was.
Right.
And what we've seen this season is something far below what he's really ever been.
And you talk about his shooting, Chuck, and that comes from the legs. And when the legs go, of course, Dirk's never going to play above the rim. He's always been a guy who's made his living on the floor. But
wait a minute, he dunked the other day. Come on,
I saw his last dunk of his career, and so did you. But when the legs go, the shooting goes, especially with his style, and I think that's what we've seen. But also, better than anybody, he salivates at the thought of playing with Luka and Porzingis. That's got to tug at him, doesn't it?
I would think on some level that it does, but again, if he does play with him, then you've got to figure out how that rotation works, because the fact is that guys like Powell and Kleba have very much benefited from the fact that Dirk's minutes have been pretty limited here.
Yep.
So how does Rick Carlisle make something like that work? It's not easy. It's not just as cut and dried. So, Dirk will be back, and we're going to throw him out there for 20 minutes a game. I mean, it's just how does that affect your rotations? How do you finish games? In fact, how do you start games? I mean, there's just a whole lot that goes into it, simply beyond the fact of the guy putting on the uniform and going out to play.
Absolutely. Chuck Cooperstein joining us here on PressBox DFW Live. Richie Witt, Gil Leberton, and your old friend Matt Mosley wants to pick your brain for a second.
Yeah. I think you're hitting the wrong story. I think he wants to stay because he wants to play with Mejri after watching Mejri over these last couple of weeks.
Just wants another guy to go out there and be a long-range bomber like he was.
That's right. Coop, I am I went out there the other night to the T-Wolves game, and it was almost like I wanted my own goodbye. I wanted to didn't really want to share it with everyone else. Mainly, I just don't want to pay that kind of money to say. But still, what do you think this atmosphere is going to be like? Because we sort of dreaded this moment for the last even 5-6 years. We knew it would come. Now that it's probably about 98% chance that it truly will be the end, what do you expect it to be like, and can you shed any light? I'm sure you've heard a little bit of what the Mavericks are planning to do. What can you share with us on that front?
Well, I mean, I do know there were a bunch of his former teammates that are going to be there. Brian Cardinal's one of his best friends,
yeah.
and has said that Brian Cardinal's the best teammate he ever had. So, I mean, I don't think there's any question that he'll be there. I know Jason Terry's going to be there because he's going to be doing radio with me tonight in the second quarter, which is going to be fun.
That'll be cool.
Beyond that, I don't know, how many are going. I know Sean Marion was trying to get here, but he may have had, something else in the way that had been previously scheduled. So I don't know where that is. I do know, there are going to be, videos and tributes, throughout the course of the game. I do know that everybody needs to be around the channel, whether it be TV or radio, or certainly the 20,000 people who are in the arena. You're not going anywhere when the final horn sounds.
Right.
That's really when the action begins. And it's going to be dramatic and emotional, and there's going to be some huge surprises from people walking out on the floor that that you might not have expected to see.
Wow. Good
I'll just
tease.
leave it at that.
Good tease.
Nelly,
yeah. He might be from Maui,
yeah.
Coop, this is Gil. In other words, this would be.
I didn't know that was your voice, Gil. I had never heard your voice before.
Well, I don't do radio.
Yeah, he's a big-time vodka.
Wait a minute, you did the Football Writers Roundtable back in the
That's
day. Come
true.
on now.
You're right. The great Football Writers Roundtable. In other words, this would be, if this were a comeback, this would be the most awkward comeback of all time, with all this setup, all these farewells, video tributes, people flown in probably by the owner. I just don't. I think Mosley said 98%. It's got to be 99.9%.
I mean, look, it's hard for me to imagine going through something like this and saying April Fool's a week late. Oh, by the way, I'm coming back for a 22nd year. But I just think, in light of how the season has transpired and what lies ahead for this team, moving forward, at some point there's going to be a reboot of the team. And Listen, Dirk has given everything to this franchise. This franchise obviously has done right by him on a lot of levels. I mean, loyalty absolutely runs both ways. And sometimes, things don't always end the way you want them to end, even if when you think about Dirk in 21 years in the same town, I mean, how fantastic is that? The fact that nobody else has ever done that. I mean, he'll always have that to walk away from if indeed this is it. So it would be kind of weird to come back next October and have Dirk out on the floor given all of this. But as Mark Cuban has said, well, if he comes back, heck, we'll just do it all over again.
But a lot of Mavs fans and some Mavs media guilty think that there's a reason Dirk hasn't said, this is it, I'm done. And it's because if he feels better, you never know. There's that mystery that keeps it kind of real, adds a little bit more excitement tonight. Chuck, I'm going to put you on the spot. You've seen a lot of Dirk's highs, a lot of his lows. You've been around forever. Give me your best Dirk memory, the one thing that 10 years from now you say, Dirk, you're going to think of the best story you can tell about him.
Well, I mean, is it on the court or off the court? I mean, it's, there's not just one. There's never just one when you're dealing with someone of this ilk. But, to me, just what set him apart from everybody else was just his humility and his regularness. I mean, there's never been a more unassuming superstar that has graced this planet than Dirk Nowitzki. I mean, this is the guy that after hitting a game-winning shot in Los Angeles and the Mavericks are traveling to San Francisco and going to play the Warriors the next night, second night of a back-to-back, and this was in my first year with the team, that he was slinging bags like the rest of us would always do,
Gotcha.
To help, facilitate the process and we'll get ourselves into the hotel room. He's helping the iguanas like me, do that. And it's,
You're right.
To me,
it just never occurs to him that he's bigger than slinging luggage or bigger than the game, which, around here he kind of is.
No, it's, and it really is sad that I think that he's never been truly appreciated outside of Dallas-Fort Worth for his greatness at the height of his game. The tributes this year have been great, and I think people do recognize that an icon of the NBA is probably leaving the stage. But I don't think there are enough people who really realize when you're talking about the great players of the era, whether it's LeBron, whether it's Carmelo, whether it's Dwayne Wade, whether it's Kobe and all that in so many ways for so much of a period of time, probably from, say, 2003 to 2010, that Dirk was the best player on earth.
Absolutely.
There was no player in the NBA better than him. And people will try to use standards like rings to try to justify why this player is better than another player. But in the end, if you're winning rings, it's because you're usually getting help from other people. Even if, basketball is a star-driven system, you still need your grunt guys in order to help you win games. And it goes much deeper than simply, whether or not you actually own a ring. I mean, if that was the case, then Robert Horry is the greatest player that ever lived.
Amen.
And that's, I think, has been gratifying on some level that Dirk has been able to, receive the cheers. And he's been really touched by, what Doc Rivers did for him out in Los Angeles,
cool.
In late February was just incredible. But I think, this is a time, I think, for everybody, not just here, because I think we know this already, but for really everybody associated with the NBA and associated with the game of basketball to really sort of take a look at this guy and just understand how revolutionary he was. I mean, he just by how he played the game, he's in the Hall of Fame. If the Hall of Fame is for those who truly made a difference in how basketball is played, or how it's coached, or how it's administered, or anything like that, I mean, he's on a very, very, very short list of the most influential people that have ever played the game of basketball.
Dirk basically invented a position, the stretch four, for a game that had been around for 120 years. He's truly revolutionary, and he's an icon. He's a once in a lifetime, media-wise, on and off the court. Chuck, I appreciate the time. Thanks for the memories, and have fun tonight. And enjoy that surprise. Wink, wink.
I'm planning to really take it all in. It's going to be incredibly cool. Thanks,
all right,
guys.
buddy. Thanks, man. Chuck Cooperstein, the voice of the Dallas Mavericks, kind of giving me chills going down it. So, I mean, just talking about Dirk and hearing him talking about him in reverent tones, and he kind of said it best. He has a surplus of loyalty, but he has minimal ego, and that's just rare. It's very rare in any sport, and we've been lucky to have that for 21 years.
We didn't arrange this, but I definitely think that people need to check our website today and read your story, your profile. It's more than a profile. It's a great story on Dirk, and outlines his career, makes the case for him being the greatest of all time in Dallas-Fort Worth sports, and does it eloquently. And don't miss it. PressBoxDFW.com.
Yeah, I had fun writing that. So I was the Mavs beat writer for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram when Dirk was a rookie, and I was there his first night in Seattle in '99. And I looked at this skinny, unassuming kid who would tell us, I have Scottie Pippen posters on my wall, not Michael Jordan. I could never be Michael Jordan. And we're like, he's not going to score 32 points in this league, much less 32,000. And here he is tonight. I mean, Matt Mosley, he's the greatest of all time. And like you threw out Roger Staubach, right? Mm-hmm. But Dirk, individual accomplishments, team success, humility, flawless citizenship, philanthropy, his loyalty. I mean, you put that together, he's the most consequential figure in the history of Ventureplex sports. On our Mount Sportsmore, Dirk's up there, no doubt.
It was one of my least favorite topics ever. The rush. You knew you were in a rough part of the season, and you had 5 hours a day. But when you got to the whole Rushmore thing, but still with Dirk,
it's fitting now.
And with Dirk and what we're discussing today, though, and I threw out Roger because he's one of my heroes, and we all know him and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you're right. This is, I think. To live in an age where it's so incredibly rare. I mean, LeBron will be argued as, okay, is MJ, LeBron, who's the best of all time? I would always side with MJ. But LeBron jumps from here to there. Oh, I want to go over here to the Lakers now so I can make some movies and produce some films and all of that. And Dirk, while, he was frustrated. Now, don't get it wrong. As unassuming as he was, them letting those after the 2011 championship game, championship team, letting Tyson and all those guys walk was incredibly frustrating to him. And so I remember him saying something to me. He said something along the lines of, "If we don't land the big fish," which is that was the whole keep the powder dry. We will have. We will have regretted what we've done. So, he was a guy that, yes, he was loyal, but he also would try to hold Cuban and everybody else accountable. And so he was, he never lost this sort of angry German streak in him, that sort of countenance that, even after wins, if you'd go to his locker, he always had to, it reminded me, I know it's a strange thing to bring up, but you remember how Mickey Rivers, the former Rangers and Yankees great, used to kind of almost limp up to the plate.
Absolutely.
And he just barely could get up there. And then he would hit it and then race off. Well, after games, Dirk always, with all those towels and everything, always looked to me like he was, does he have the flu?
Looked like his last game.
Every night was his flu game. And he just kind of had that, that German way about him that was just kind of like, I don't know, we're not that good, we're not that. But he was our German.
Absolutely. And you know what? You know why he's right to be mowing all those moves? 21 years of sustained success, Hall of Famer. One title is a disservice to him. I know it's one title, the Mavericks only one, but if he's in another team, another franchise, you got to get more than that out of a top 5 scorer of all time, don't you?
Yeah,
the Mavericks have underachieved one of the greatest players of all time.
I think, and I don't think he sits around thinking, we should have had 3 or 4.
No, that's our job.
Yes. But I think the 2006 thing will always
haunt him. Absolutely
haunt him. And I
think
it
was his free throws.
That's one of the reasons we love him is because of how open he is. And then that 2007 you wrote about the other day, Richie, the MVP. I mean, think about the individual accolades that some players. I mean, Russ Westbrook. I take up for him. I think he's an unbelievable player. But man, he is so many times out there hunting triple doubles, and oh my gosh, and Harden does a little bit of that too. And this guy, just none of that stuff ever. It's funny that we're now celebrating him for these numbers milestones, and that was so not who he was.
Yep.
He really was about, let's find a way to win. And in 2011, we've never really seen anything like that. I mean, Jordan did need Pippen before he finally got to where he needed to be, and you could argue Jet or any of these other guys. I mean, they were big. Kidd coming back, that was huge, but they were not in Dirk's stratosphere. So this whole thing, you got to have two superstars. I mean, in LeBron's case, he was always trying to find two more superstars.
Right.
You know, and then he relegated Kevin Love to a sort of a non-superstar status. But again, he was trying, who can I put around me?
Absolutely.
Dirk was like, I'm going to play, I'm going to show up no matter who you guys put around me.
You threw out Roger Staubach. I'll tell you this. Here's why Dirk's better than Roger Staubach. Roger Staubach threw passes to Bob Hayes and Drew Pearson. Dirk caught passes from J.J. Barea and Jason Terry. He's better. Gil, who'd you throw out for your GOAT? Tom Landry?
Oh, I was just thinking Cowboys, and you would normally think that if you're picking a greatest of all time here, it'd be somebody with the Cowboys.
And it's blasphemous to pick anybody over Tom Landry. I know that, but Tom Landry wore a fedora, not a helmet. He didn't play.
Right.
Dirk is more directly responsible for the Mavericks' success than Tom was the Cowboys' success. Pains me to say it. But, again, check out my story today at PressBoxDFW.com. And just think of your favorite all-time player or coach or whatever in Dallas-Fort Worth and say, oh, he's not better than Michael Young. I've got a comparison. I've got a reason why Dirk is better. And to me, he is number one. And tonight, I think we all agree that this is his last home game. So
I think that column really got you back in good graces with some of our readers after basically saying Beltray didn't belong in the top 20 of all time.
I could play both
DFW
ends of that. Yeah.
Yes. So well done.
Again, read all of our good stuff at daily at PressBoxDFW.com and watch or listen to us weekly here at PressBox DFW Live. Thanks to Chuck Cooperstein for joining us. Next up, how close did TCU come to losing a coach to UCLA?
We have a new sponsor
this
week. Yes, we do.
Ooh. Man, you work quickly.
Para Auto Care. What's the worst part of owning a car? It's getting it serviced. It's getting it repaired.
Having Mosley give you directions.
Yeah, that's that too. Getting lost on the express lane. But no, it's when you go to get your car serviced, particularly if you go to a new car dealer, and they start treating you like an ATM, right? They want to, they start telling you that your engine needs to, your everything needs to be redone.
Well, the more I looked under there, Gil, your belt's got to be replaced, and you got some filters, and you got a valve stem that looks like it may
like an oil
definitely
change,
the valve stems. The valve stems need to be refurbished and everything.
I quoted you 200, but it's going to be more like 900. Should I get that done for you?
Yeah.
Right. That kind
You'll probably die if we don't.
Yeah.
Bob Para, they've been in business, his dad and now him, for 44 years, since 1975. 2 locations, both of them in Tarrant County. One of them's on Airport Freeway in Euless, the other one on Davis Boulevard in North Richland Hills. Customer service is Bob's. There's Bob. It's his specialty, but mostly the word is care. It's even in the name of the business there. Honesty, quality, and service. This is actually an honest mechanic, people. He cares about his service. If you go to the website, you'll see that there must be 700 testimonials, and I'm not exaggerating. The people that have given Para Auto Care a 5-star rating. When you go in and see him, be sure to tell him you heard about him at PressBox DFW Live.
Beautiful.
What
Welcome to the family.
What did Bob think of my work? Did y'all talk about that?
We didn't. Let's don't mention that.
Big Mosley
let's
guy?
Don't mention Mosley.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to do that yet.
All right, give us some Jamie Dixon update.
Well, it was an interesting week last week at TCU. They nearly lost their coach, or did they? TCU felt that it had a contract, and it intended to have its coach live up to it completely. And so the question became, how badly did the suitors, in this case UCLA, how bad did they want Jamie Dixon? And the powers that be at TCU decided that a buyout clause said to be in the neighborhood of $8 million was going to be strictly enforced. And I think when UCLA added up the $8 million plus whatever it was they were going to have to pay Jamie, and they weighed that against what they sensed the public sentiment was for not getting John Calipari,
right,
and quote unquote settling for Jamie, they didn't feel like it was worth it. And so the combination of that plus TCU's reaffirming that it wanted to keep Jamie means that he's back as the head coach of the basketball Frogs.
Is he back and happy, or is he just back?
Well, that's a good question. That's what I was going to say. Is he? There's some speculation. I got into it in my story the other day. There's some history there that goes back that I know reminds people of perhaps of the Pat Sullivan incident.
Oh dear.
Let's
don't bring that
from the 80s. And
you have to be of a certain age to be reminded of that.
A brief version of the whole story is on my column that we showed up there. And I'm there's nobody at the Star Telegram that was around when that happened. So, they're just picking up stuff from my column to try and make an issue.
Not even around anymore.
But I went to Baton Rouge and camped out with the then athletic director, Joe Dean, parked in front of his driveway for several hours, trying to see if I could figure out what was going on. And Pat actually came in for an interview and everything. The difference, though, Sullivan didn't get the job because the then TCU athletic director, Frank Windegger, held firm to the buyout that they had. And at the time, I wasn't exactly sure how much it was, but apparently it was $400,000, which at the time seemed like that was a lot of money back in those days.
Million.
And now it's inflation. And so Pat stayed. And
wait, but the big part of that story, someone was trying to hire Pat Sullivan away.
Well, I explained that in the column.
Read the column.
Pat was LSU's fifth choice.
Fifth choice.
No, I read the column. I mean, Gil's work. He's really getting there.
He's going to be something someday.
I'm telling you,
promising young man.
He really is growing up in front of our eyes.
Best intern we've ever had.
They approached Mac Brown was one of the ones.
Oh
ahead
my
of him.
gosh!
He was at North Carolina
already.
At the time,
okay,
and he had been an assistant at LSU. He said no thanks. That shows you the state of the LSU program at that time. Bill Snyder was on that list. Bill Snyder turned him down, and they said, well, let's one of these search firms said I think you'll like Pat Sullivan. He's a good SEC name, and he was their choice for a while until the whole buyout thing came up. And Pat kept telling him, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That'll be taken care of." Well, it wasn't taken care of, but it cast enough doubt in LSU's mind, in Joe Dean's mind, that they said, maybe we better move on, and they did. And they ended up hiring Jerry DiNardo, which was okay. I mean, he had one good season. He got him to the Independence Bowl.
There you go.
And
Jerry, who had
and
been
then set the stage.
Was he at Vandy at some point?
He was at Vandy.
He was once called by one of his players, who a guy ended up knowing, in the Angry Martinet.
Yes. I remember asking Gil Brandt at the time.
I had one of those yesterday.
DiNardo.
I had 375.
I'll have a double Martinet.
Angry. Double angry.
Yes.
I remember talking to Gil Brandt at the time about well, what do you think of DiNardo, since it looks like they're now going to move on to him? And he tries to find something positive to say.
Tries.
But I remember he went, well, he sure eats a lot of them sunflower seeds. That was the best he could say.
That's a horrible first bullet point on the resume
that
of
was
your
his
new
first
head
bullet
coach.
But he was succeeded. But they went from that. He was succeeded by Nick Saban, which totally changed everything around there. The question is, what happened to Pat after that? He had a couple of decent recruiting years, but they were constantly negatively recruiting against him because he had already given him the evidence that he's liable to leave the first SEC job that comes along.
Right.
He was able to get LaDainian Tomlinson, and that was his legacy. That was what he handed down to Dennis Franchione. But the Frogs were moving into the Western Athletic Conference. And they thought they were going to go there, this rough, tough team from Texas, and that they were just going to dominate. Mm-hmm. And they finished, in Pat's last year, they finished 1-10 in the WAC. And no coach could have survived that.
Against San Jose State.
The difference now is that Jamie Dixon is a far more accomplished coach.
Absolutely.
With a track record of NCAA appearances and being a quality team in what at the time was the best, probably the second best basketball conference in the country, the Big East, and I just don't see I don't see the things falling apart. Does he still want to coach? Well, TCU thinks so, and from what I know of Jamie, I can't imagine him saying, "Well, I'm sore about this,
right.
So I'm not gonna recruit as hard."
What's the
what
fan
benefit
base?
would it be for him to give a half?
Well, we did see what happened when June Jones didn't get that job that everybody thought he was at Arizona State or whatever, and he was all hired,
SMU,
and then it didn't. He came back to SMU, and it was horrific after that.
Yeah, but June Jones just wanted to play golf and and all that kind of
different
stuff.
animals, absolutely.
Totally different animals.
What's the TCU fan base alumni that they want Jamie back?
Yeah, once they heard that there was a chance to get him back, they wanted him back.
Okay.
At first, it was like, let him go, but now they want him back.
PressBox DFW Live. Speaking of press boxes, Gil, where are we? It looks like we're somewhere familiar today.
That would be the beautiful American Airlines Center. But look at that. That was a tribute, last year?
That was last year, yeah.
The Southern University Band.
Yep.
And there they are spelling out number 41.
That was Dirk's.
Oh, that's neat.
That was Dirk's previous.
12 months early.
That was his previous last home game, and maybe tonight will be his real home game.
Right.
Matt Mosley, how many trophies are in front of you right now?
These are all just ones I've earned.
No, they're not.
They're not yours.
None of them are yours.
It's not yours.
This is how we keep up with what episode it is. It's episode.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We've had 6 award-winning shows.
Count your green tea.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Five
Don't
of them.
count my green tea.
We have the world's greatest collection of doorstops.
Yes, we do, and we're getting awards by the ton. All right, PressBox DFW Live. Next up, guns down. This segment, Mosley, is called Double Drivel. Okay, so you're filling in for the late great. Is he still with us, John?
He's still with us. He hasn't died. He's on
for
assignment.
For the great John.
He's on assignment.
He's on assignment in Key West, Florida.
Ooh, I've been there.
So in Double Drivel, we talk about college basketball.
Duck
stuff.
Key.
And you're all excited about the women's tournament. I'm like, let's talk college basketball. You're like, yeah, I'll talk about Kim Mulkey and what Baylor did.
Do not say the women with disgust in your voice, because the Baylor women went out, won a national title. And I wrote a column on PressBoxDFW.com about that, what it meant to me as a fourth-generation Baylor student.
How excited he's getting, Gil.
Yeah, but I mean, oh, my goodness, there it is.
It's even got the grandbaby in it. Look at that.
That's
What
Cannon. Cannon with a K, the grandbaby. But you're looking at over there in that blue pantsuit. You're looking at one of the greatest coaches, men or women, in the country. And Kim Mulkey, just phenomenal job that he does. Now she is something to deal with. I mean, I am.
With disdain in his voice.
No. I'm just saying. And she knows how much success she's had. She knows what she's worth.
Yes.
And she knows what leverage means. And so I would say that, and I think I concluded that column with basically saying, hey, if she wants the Calipari lifetime contract, maybe you go ahead and think about doing it. And she's one of those coaches, you've heard them before, that goes, she'll be at press conferences. I don't ever talk about leaving. I don't ever talk about lifetime contracts. But in doing that, she's
planting the seeds.
She's bringing it up.
Absolutely.
And so, but what an unbelievable now women's athletics, because the TV contracts aren't what the men's contracts are. They aren't huge revenue sports or anything like that. But what Baylor, I hope, and I do think realizes is, when you go out and win a national title in women's basketball, it's just huge, whether it's branding, marketing, whatever. Baylor is rolling out, as we speak, I think it's officially next week, its big thing with Nike. Now, it's kind of an interesting time to do it because that Avenatti or whatever the guy, Michael Avenatti, he's trying to take Nike down. Nike's trying to throw him in prison. Is this the best time to roll out your Nike campaign? Well, you want to do it after you win a national title. And you know, it changes you. I wish this weren't the case. I wish, you know, sometimes people will go, well, I think now about domestic violence and all because I have a daughter or I'm married to one. Well, you should just sort of naturally be concerned about these things. It shouldn't be about once you have a daughter, then you become concerned about these things. But I will say my fandom of women's basketball really didn't evolve or even start until I had a daughter who fell in love with basketball at age 11, plays point guard.
How excited he is. Gil, be honest, how much of the women's NCAA basketball tournament did you watch?
I watched parts of at least one of the semifinals. And, well, wait a minute.
You saw the Lady Bears win it all, right?
Yeah, I watched that whole game. But I also attended and watched the TCU women in their quest to win the women's NIT. They fell one game short.
Well, I felt like you were honoring Dan Jenkins with that. In a sense.
I was.
Dan loved
the
TCU
loved the
women's basketball.
Because of such thorough coverage by my cohorts at PressBox DFW.com, I watched 0 minutes of the
yeah, we had it covered.
I just read about it every day.
Well, let's talk about this for a second.
Kills mostly.
One of the
no, I was busy doing something else.
Yeah.
One of the
tennis.
I was playing women's tennis instead.
Right.
One of the things they wrote about after the successful women's Final Four was that what made it better was that UConn didn't win, and they used the word parity. But I think right now that is a big problem still with the women's game, because instead of having only one team at the top and maybe 2 or 3 that each year that have a chance to compete for the national championship. Now they only have like 4 or 5.
It's better than 1 or 2, but your point is still the 1 versus 16 are 50-point games.
If you look at that bracket in both the NCAA and in women's NIT, it went strictly by the chalk.
Did you fill out a women's NIT bracket?
No, but I
looked
looked at it.
I'm walking off the show. I
downloaded one. I downloaded one and looked at it, and the top seeded team won in almost every case. They have a real problem with that right now. I mean, the game is not going to be like the men. They're not going to dunk. You're not going to have these incredibly supersonic plays that you see in the men's game right now. But it's a different game.
But you see some great strategy.
The competition is what makes it good.
Now, do they still play 3-on-3 like defense?
Oh, stop it! That's
how
Oklahoma,
Wayland Baptist,
the Flying Queens.
The Flying Queens. That's a great story.
All right,
you should do that.
Can we talk about the men's tournament for a while?
That's right.
Can we talk about the lesser tournament?
Yeah, let's talk about the other tournament.
The side show.
You know,
congratulations to Coach Mulkey in the Lady Bears.
Yes, good job, women's basketball.
Okay, on the guns up.
Yes, that was a rough one.
By the way, before the game, Trey Young, his dad, was a really good player at Texas Tech. Rayford Young,
yes,
y'all remember him?
Absolutely.
And he was on there on Twitter getting on to everybody for doing the wrong guns up. He said they were doing it too much like L for losers. And he was teaching everybody how to get those things sideways.
That's right.
Get your guns. Hey, good column by you on PressBox DFW on your buddy. We all have a friend.
I think everybody does, yeah.
Yeah, we all have like alcoholic friends. We all have tech graduate. No.
Sometimes they're the same.
That's right, one of the same. No, the truth is, no, that was good. That was good to see. And I had a lot of tech fans, and this was a huge deal. And they went to – I like it when, you can talk yourself in and out of doing things. Fly to Minneapolis for a game. I always talk myself into, like when our men made the Elite Eight at Baylor. And I think to completely get the gender equity thing right, I need to drop everything and spend all the money it is to go see the women. I still would just like to watch that and celebrate it. When the men go to the Sweet 16 at Madison Square Garden, I'm paying whatever it takes to go. I'm going because, and part of that is I'm friends with Coach Drew and all that. And boy, someday I'll tell you all the Scott Drew dynamic with Kim. It's always interesting. UConn's had it with their coaches. They've had great men's coaches and women's coaches. I don't know. No, but get your guns up because what an unbelievable – that thing was looking like Virginia was going to pull away, and it was 53-43, and I thought, oh, dang it, I hate for it to end like this. And yet the Red Raiders found a way to rally down the stretch, and for all the world, unbelievable play by Culver there after he'd been shut down by DeAndre Hunter for a lot of this game. I love that. You talk about an NBA play. There is a play winding his way down there, and the Red Raiders were in position to win this, but in my heart of hearts, I knew that Virginia was going to find a way. And what happened is, not exactly this play.
No, the next possession. You're right.
Correct.
3-point lead, 12 seconds to go, and that defense, I thought it was done.
Odiasi makes these 2 free throws. This guy's not a great free throw shooter, and he steps up in this huge situation and makes it. And then if you'll watch, and first of all, we had about 7 delays in here. We could talk about that in a second. But look at that. Listen, he could have taken the layup with about 16 seconds left and cut it to 1. That is conventional wisdom. But in today's sort of NBA thought process, it was like, let's get it out there and get the 3. And, of course, that tied the game. Beautiful, wide-open 3. And Tech, it really is sad and ironic that Tech, one of the great defensive teams, the best defensive team, and great at scrambling to pick up, shooters and all that, left a guy like that wide open.
See, I didn't think he was wide open, and they were going to give Jerome the layup. I didn't have a problem with their defense. I mean, it was a great pass and even a better shot.
Really
but they put
good
pressure
pass
on them to make two good clutch plays, and Virginia made
2 of the biggest clutch plays in this tournament came from these Cavs.
Yeah,
it was that pass, and that was Jerome. Always, I love when Rafferty's doing a game. He has
send it in,
send it in, Jerome. So he had to and then. The Clark kid, the point guard, the play he made earlier in the tournament when he goes back in the backcourt to gather a ball and then has the presence of mind, instead of flinging up a 50-footer, hey, let's give it to Diakate and the blonde bombshell. Diakate catches the ball, turns around, and shoots.
Don't think that's his nickname.
The blonde bomber.
I think you just tried to give that to him.
No, I like Diakate.
So the narrative is Virginia lost to a 16 last year. They were on a mission.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, they were extremely lucky. Now, you got to have a little bit of luck to win a title, but 2 overtime wins, beneficial calls against Purdue, the 3-point, the foul in the corner, the 3-point play against Auburn. And then last night against Tech, they had the controversial – the out-of-bounds play in overtime, which got overturned. That was not enough to be overturned in my book.
No. And here's the thing. We now have technology, of course, to almost slow things down to this sort of it's almost we've got too good a technology.
Right.
Because I thought somebody made a pretty good point. It was your guy, Sterator, and they bring him in. Did you see how they introduced him at the beginning of the game?
No.
He's sitting there, and Nance goes, when we have Gene Sterator here on an as-needed basis, it was kind of like, you sit there, we might need you, we might not.
Don't speak unless spoken to, Sterator.
But he had a really good point. He said now you have to think about, with this great technology, the distortion that comes up and everything. And so for generations, think about this. That ball gets poked out by a player, and that's not even we don't even go look at it. We almost are like, that just happened. We saw it with our own eyes.
The players didn't even think about it.
Like Virginia, it's our ball. Yeah, but when you slow it down to a ridiculous speed, wait, did that stay on his fingertips?
It's still too close to overturn, wasn't it?
I thought so. I thought so. Yeah.
Every poked away ball is going to come off of the fingertips of the person that had it before.
Yeah, you're probably right.
It would take a clean pick for it not to be. So they got to do something about that.
But boy, my heart goes out. Go ahead.
No, one last thing I'll say is, when a team like Tech is in a great place and they've hit those threes and they've come back and Culver's made his deals, that can't help to then, okay, guys, y'all wait over here. We're gonna have about 3 or 4 or 5 minutes where we're gonna have to do this review.
Yep.
I mean, and it takes away. I mean, think about the excitement of that early in the game. Didn't y'all have the same thought I had? Like, this is gonna be horrible. This is a rough game. I mean,
it was gonna be first
horrible
one to 30
shooting.
wins,
It looked bad,
great
and
game.
then at the end, like, this is greatness, but it was interrupted by these replays. I want to get it right.
Me too.
But I hate that it takes away from the ball game.
I mean, the greatest season in Tech history by far ends in the greatest disappointment in Tech history. That was a kick to the crotch to lose. Sure. I mean, Tech had a lead late. They had the last shot in regulation. They had a chance to lead late and over. I mean, how do you look at the season if you're a Tech fan? Was it a success, or was it like
enormous?
Or is it at the Rangers Game 6 in St. Louis that you'll never ever get over?
Enormous success in my mind.
I think for a few days there's gonna be a great hangover there for more reasons than
that's every day in Lubbock, isn't it?
until the embers die out from the burning cars.
It's a normal. I bet they burn the
Monday
city down
evening.
But they had a great season, and they need to. They need to start doing like Longhorn Network, right, and just
replay.
Replay all the games
Yes.
for the people in Lubbock.
All right, sorry, no dog in the hunt here except for a bunch of buddies, but guns down today. But what a great run by Texas Tech basketball. Read our writing, again, daily at PressBoxDFW.com. Watch and or listen weekly, PressBox DFW Live. Next up, I know you're waiting on the edge of your seats, the greatest par in the history of the Colonial, maybe. Wits End, sponsored to you by the good folks at Woody's Tavern. They're in Fort Worth on Bryant Irvin Road. They're probably watching right now on the big screen. They stream us on Facebook Live. So enjoy your lunch and enjoy this story about the Colonial. Played in the Wide Open yesterday. You guys have played in that before, right?
Sure.
Played in that ever? The Wide Open?
I hit our publisher once. Back when
on purpose.
When the great Phil Meek was the publisher. His golf cart got in the way, and
your ball. How dare?
Yeah, of course the angle was very oblique, but nobody got hurt.
So it's the Wide Open is a media tournament at the Colonial, like a month, or in this case, like 5 or 6 weeks before the Colonial. But it gives you a chance to play the course, and when you go back and write about it, you kind of say, "Oh, I know the shot Jordan Spieth has here because I made a 7 from here, and he's going to make a birdie." So, and Chuck Cooperstein was there, a bunch of guys there yesterday. So, like this, Gil. We had a Dan Jenkins tribute yesterday, a tribute rule yesterday to his own self. On one time during the round, you get to throw the ball and not count the stroke, because that's what he thought should be put into the rules. So I took my throw out of a bunker and totally misjudged it and threw it, and it rolled off the green into another bunker. And I'm like, Dan, I so apologize for ruining it. All right, so you're familiar with 16 at Colonial. It's a par 3.
Yeah.
Clubhouse to the right. So I get up there, like it's 176 into the wind. I take out a 6-iron, and I don't know what happened, but I skull shanked something with a low, screaming trajectory out of bounds, over the bushes, off the Health Club, if you know where that is. It's a red brick building off from, that's 18. It's kind of off to your right, if you will. And I'm like
behind those trees.
Yeah, behind those. And I'm like 4 because there's people like maintenance guys driving carts and they're getting ready for a tournament.
In case anybody's jogging.
No, they weren't. But there was like workers and there were golf carts and they were like, people leaving the health club. It is a country club. So we're all like 4, and I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna go through a window. And all of a sudden we hear this click, and the ball over the bushes back into play and lands, a foot from the pond in front of the green. And I proceeded to go up there, calm my nerves, chipped it up within 6 feet, made the putt.
Whoa!
One of the greatest part.
Save?
I think there'll be a tribute to that during the Colonial. I think they'll probably have me on for that.
I would hope so.
I'm expecting Faraday to text me any moment so he can.
I think Faraday will want to talk about that. Right. This is, by the way, I wish Nance would not. Bothers me that he takes the Colonial off sometimes.
He does.
The Texas swing.
Yeah.
Although that's a little different this year. Nance had a rough call, by the way, at the end of last night.
What was his? I was in a bar. I couldn't hear.
He's had some good moments. He scripts those things out a little bit, and it was like the turnaround title, the 1 year turnaround. It was a rough. I was like, hey guys, quiet down. I want to hear what Nance has to say. I always listen to it. And then, and I just thought it was kind of forced and didn't work.
He whiffed it.
Yeah. But hey, good story. I wish we had footage of that.
I dare any golfer Tiger Woods, I'll challenge you right now. I'll give you 1,000. I don't know about 1,000. I'll give you 7 attempts to hit a ball off of that.
Yeah, he
off
won't
of
do
the
it.
health club, back in front of the pond, chip up and make a par.
There he is on that's a 16.
That was me yesterday after my par. All right, it is Masters week. You guys excited about the Masters? Do you guys get into that?
Sure.
Do you get excited about?
Gil.
Hold
Hold yourself back there.
women's basketball,
Golly.
Sweet 16 or Masters?
Pat Sullivan, the
What more
guy's
can you
climbing
say?
on the table.
Yeah, we had a 20-minute soliloquy about
Golly.
Sully.
I've
We get
been
nothing.
there, and I think it's like it's like the prettiest national park in the country.
Do we care, and do we think Tiger can win it again? Because that's the whole buzz.
I care immensely, and I think Tiger showed at the at that Austin tournament, the match play,
yeah.
that he's right there, kind
Is
of
he?
where he needs to be. Yeah. I think when he's healthy, he's still at age. He's like 43 now. He's my age, in fact. I'm a tad bit older than that, but he's right. I think he is going to win one more major.
That
But
was
I
my
will
next
also
question,
say
yeah.
this. He needs to do it in the next 2 years because unlike Mickelson, see, Mickelson's always been kind of a healthy fat guy. Mickelson's a guy who's not gonna, just the way he's built, he's not gonna have a lot of back trouble and
He's
stuff.
athletic fat.
And
I'm
yes,
with you. Yeah.
yes. He's like, and he's kind of like an old hustler fat, kind of fun guy. And Tiger is not, I mean, there's nothing, everything about him, his back or his knees could go out at any minute. So I think he has about a 2-year window here. And if he's going to do it, he has to do it by 45. But still, if he gets in the hunt, and he's been in the hunt within the past, he won a big tournament last year. It was at one of the big FedEx Cup tournaments was. He is capable because mentally he still can get in people's heads if he puts himself in a final group. I still think I think he's a tough guy to play with in a final group, especially for
He got beat the match play by Billy Fernberger.
I know, but I think that was good for Tiger. Tiger, that guy's name was like Beer. He was a
Beer Garden.
He was
Sorry.
a sweeter
Yeah.
Beer Garden.
Billy Beer Garden. I'm sorry.
But Tiger was ready to duck out of that thing. He wasn't completely engaged.
See, that's my problem with it. I
But
thought
he
the
would
same
be in
thing
the-
at the
in the
Ryder
major.
Cup, and he was 0-5, and he was ready to duck out of that thing.
He's never.
I don't think he's there. I don't think he has the same edge mentally he used to.
Oh, I think in a major it could still pop up.
we'll
I
see.
think the edge can be there.
So McIlroy's your favorite, your betting favorite. Tiger's the 4th favorite at 14-1. Spieth 16-1. Tiger, he creates such a buzz, and he hasn't won the Masters since 2005. I had to look that up. I thought, surely he's won it in the last 5 or 6 years. He hadn't won a major since the 2008 U.S. Open. And you're talking about him, like a lot of people, like he still got it. That's 15, 12 years ago since he won a major.
Had to be.
But he can still do it.
At least 30 or 40, maybe 100 porn star girlfriends ago for him.
Goodness gracious, Gil.
I don't gauge
I think he's right on it.
I don't gauge my enjoyment of golf by how Tiger Woods
I don't
does.
either. And
I used to.
The Tiger overkill gets to me.
The Tiger overkill. And plus, I followed the Dan Jenkins model for how to treat Tiger.
Careful.
Let's hear
no,
it.
I wouldn't. That's not the model.
No, I want the model.
I
What's the
love
model?
Dan, but
Well, Dan felt that I think Dan acknowledged that Tiger Woods was a generational talent,
Can't deny that.
but he believed that you need to be nice to people, and how you treat people. And the stories. This is
Amen.
not just about the media. I mean, I don't care that he stiffed me and Art Strickland one time at his last trip through Colonial.
How dare he.
A story I'll tell some other time. It took police intervention to escort Art and I out of the
Strickland out of his trunk.
clubhouse. But I don't care about how he treats the media so much. But these stories are legendary about him. Like he'll go out to dinner and he won't leave a tip,
Right.
Or he'll leave $1 or something like that.
Stiff sponsors and not
or
sign
everybody
autographs.
orders, and then when he's done, he gets up and leaves and expects everybody that's in his party to join him. I mean, all kinds of things like the stories like that are
That matters to me. We're sitting here talking about Dirk as the greatest of all time.
Right.
Part of that is because he's such
He
a
might be
damn
one of
good
the worst.
person.
He might be one of the worst.
Who's that?
Tiger.
That's what I'm saying.
Dirk
Dirk's
is
up here,
the-
and Tiger's
Right.
down here.
We all have
And
ventured
for those
into
reasons-
this other stuff.
and for those
you don't
reasons,
care about
I'm
the other
out.
stuff?
I want when he. I think Tiger has changed. I actually think he is because of what he went through, and he put himself in that spot, obviously, but because of all of that, I think he is a far more sympathetic character at this point, and I don't think he's that same sort of bloodthirsty. Like, I think he actually, when he smiles, and it's not like a computer type thing where he's like, okay, remember to smile.
How low is the bar? He actually smiles and thinks he's sympathetic.
I am completely different than you guys. And I mean, I live with a woman who's my wife of 20 years who has the same thoughts you're talking about.
Strangest introduction I've ever heard.
Been with this. He's been with all these people, and she kind of had that thought. But I mean, I'm trying to convince her it's okay. It's
Where are you
safe.
going with this?
I'm saying it's safe to root. Yeah, it's okay to go, honey. I'm gonna be home about 6 this morning. No, it's okay to root for Tiger.
Yeah, when's John getting back?
No,
it's not okay to root for Tiger. Hope he misses the cut. I cannot wait. And me and Mosley are going to have it out when he does. All right, time to round the bases. Let's head for home on PressBox DFW Live. Walk off. Each week, PressBox DFW Live, we get a question from a listener and or viewer. What do we got this week, Gil?
We have a good question from Trey in Fort Worth.
Good old Trey.
Who wanted to know if he could attend one event, one sporting event, regardless of what team or whatever was in it, which one would we recommend? Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Which one would we recommend if we had to pick just one?
Go ahead. I know you have one. Let me think about it.
I think you should go to a Summer Olympics, but that's just me.
How many have you been to?
16. I've been to 9 summer,
so
9
haughty.
summer, 7.
So haughty the way he says
right.
that.
That's right.
You know what, though? That's good because if the Olympics, obviously, you could go see basketball. You could go see
there's lots to see.
The track and field. I mean,
just seeing the people from around the world and meeting
I've been to the
people.
Olympics. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
I'm going to Canada this summer, but just to go to some of the old venues and stuff. I don't like all the people being there. And so I'd rather see it when nobody's around. And plus, I
go to the Olympics 8 years after the Olympics to see the ruins.
But here's the thing, I like when that thing was going on in Russia, Sochi or whatever it was. Like that stray dog thing bothered me. They had too many stray dogs over there and stuff.
Yeah, they
and
got rid of them.
Yeah. What do you mean? They exterminated them?
You know what I'm saying.
Oh, no. I that soured me on the Olympics as a whole. And so I would go to, I mean, and I've been to it, but the Masters, if you just go to the practice rounds, it's one of the only things that truly you can enjoy almost just as much as the tournament.
Yep.
Going over there and, in fact, almost as much, maybe more, because the practice rounds, there's not as many people out there. You just stroll around, and it's like, you know, Gil called it a national park. It's like the greatest sort of arboretum ever.
Yeah.
And you just walk around. and it's one of the few things that TV can't quite capture.
You're killing me because I went to the Masters one time, 2003, took my dad, surprised him for his birthday. We went on a practice round, and it rained the whole day out. They didn't even let us on the grounds. It rained so hard. And I had a one-day pass, and I've never been back. So if Trey wants to go with me, on my bucket list are going to the Masters and going to the French Open tennis tournament. I'll go with either one of those. That's on my bucket list.
Do they play on clay or?
Okay, John Henry, can't wait to have you back. PressBoxDFW.com. Watch or listen here at PressBox DFW Live. Get your guns up, keep your chin up, and for Gil Leverton and Matt Mosley and Richie Witt, we'll see you guys in the PressBox DFW.